evening and welcome to the Park and Recreation Commission meeting. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
And has this been posted in accordance to open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
Okay, with that, let's begin. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to begin with public comment. And are our phone lines open? Phone lines are open. They can call the number that is on the screen, 702-589-9629.
Carla, if it's okay while we're waiting for public comment, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our second high school representative for the Parks and Recreation Commission. She's here with us today. You want to wave? It's Aubrey Denton. She'll be joining us as the another high school representative.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Aubrey. All right, seeing as there's no public comment, let us go on to our first agenda item, being the approval of the minutes from September 26th.
I move to approve.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second, for possible action, recommendation to the city council regarding the draft policy for the placement of monuments on city property, including parks.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
I have a few comments
thank you.
before we start. So this item on the agenda is a recommendation to the City Council regarding a draft policy which has been put together by city staff for the placement of monuments on city property, including parks in Boulder City. At the April 26, 2022 City Council meeting, the council directed staff to develop a formal policy guideline that would regulate the placement of monuments on city-owned property. Before bringing the guidelines back to the City Council for consideration, they further requested that the Parks and Rec Commission and the Historic Preservation Committee review and provide guidance to the City Council. A copy of the monument guidelines was included in your packet for your review. The Community Development Director, Michael Mays, brought the monument draft to the Historic Preservation Committee on June 22, 2022 for their review and guidance. A copy of the Historic Preservation meeting is also included in your packet, page number 20. You basically have two choices. You can discuss the draft policy and make recommendations for the council to consider, as did the Historic Preservation Committee, or you can approve the draft as a whole and forward it back to the City Council for final approval. So this item is a discussion on your end, reviewing the document and making any suggestions to the City Council for consideration.
Thank you.
And that is the end of my report.
When I read this, Roger, right now when I think of monuments, I think of the city sidewalk monuments or the art, the benches, memorial benches that are scattered around town, and the plaques that you see by trees in the park. Is there anything else the city was wanting to consider, or are those the primary issues?
You're right. I think the benches were left out. We're still done through the Parks and Rec Department. This was basically brought forward because of the request from the Shane Patton people who wanted to put a memorial to Shane Patton in Wilbur Square. And the council wanted some guidance from the Preservation Committee and the Parks and Rec Commission on what that should look like. The Patton people made a presentation, they had pictures and whatever, but there was no formal adoption policy, so to speak. And the council wanted some suggestions from the Preservation Committee and the Parks and Rec Commission.
Okay.
So,
Well, if the memorial benches are pretty much a Parks and Rec issue and not really included in this, then my only comment would be, haven't read it, would the policy need to differentiate between what areas of town? I mean, it talks about the appropriateness of a monument or a memorial, but would it make a difference if it was located in a park versus downtown versus maybe the historic district? So I didn't know if that would further clarify or muddy the waters on this policy, but that was one of my comments.
I would think that that consideration would have to take place because it would be different if you look at a park setting that's already
Right.
been established and maybe a streetscape or something like that. But I think there's provisions in the document that deal with that.
Oh, okay, I didn't see them in there, but
Yeah.
if they're in there, great. I think that's kind of important for them to consider.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I was at the city council meeting when the whole Wilbur Park Shane Patton monument came in, and that was there. Well, Wilbur Park has so many special events going on there all the time, and they wanted to put this huge statue in there, and like right where it would possibly interfere with other of our special events that go on there all the time. And then I know that's when they were having discussions about, well, where would be a more appropriate place? I mean, we love Shane, a Navy SEAL who died in Afghanistan. I mean, graduate from our high school. But it's a veterans memorial kind of thing anyway. And I don't know if it seems like it should be somewhere like that. And I'm thinking when I'm reading through here that that's what they're trying to decide as a committee to kind of find the most appropriate place would be. I mean, we want to honor Shane. And they've been raising money, have those fundraisers for him all the time, and so they have the funds to do something nice. But where would be the best place suitable? And I think most of the requirements here that they're listing seem like they would cover that and come up with recommendations that would meet, I think, standards.
Right, if you look on page number 4, which is page 17 of 43 in your packet, there, number 2 is compatibility. How well does the monument integrate with the surrounding environment? And multiple monuments for similar or related groups should be avoided. You wouldn't want the same person at, having 2 or 3 monuments at one park, for example. And right now, Shane Patton has a monument. We named a field, the hardball field, after Shane Patton, and had a dedication ceremony down there, for Shane when he passed away a number of years back. I think but that's a consideration. They didn't want too many monuments in one location, and the compatibility. How well does the monument integrate with the other surrounding environments? Like you said, with special events, is it a good mix for that? Is something to consider.
Roger? One of the things I was thinking is it might be nice to have areas that are actually designated in the different parks so that it kind of narrows down the area that could be used for it. Where they just say like along the right-of-ways or beyond the sidewalks or out in the middle of a park or in an area that will be dedicated to monuments. So that if somebody wanted to put in a monument, they could say, I like that spot right there. And you already have predetermined areas for them.
Good idea. Yeah, this is the very start of it, so it's a draft, and obviously, the Preservation Committee looked at it. We want your input, but that is a good idea for that.
So the question before us is then, do we want to direct that we want to add the change of putting designated areas for monuments in there, or do we want this to go as is?
Well, Roger, based on what you told me, it sounds like there's a feeling that this is, even though it's not ultra-specific, it covers some of the questions we've had here, gives a lot of discretion to the city manager, obviously. But maybe too much definition is not near as good as a little input from a specific request.
Well, on page number 2, which is 15 of 43 on evaluation, the city staff shall evaluate the application as it relates to the proposed location, compatibility with surroundings, potential impact on other uses, appropriateness, compatibility, impact to the existing use, again, as special events, in a park, aesthetics, maintenance, safety, and ownership of the thing. So we evaluate, city staff would evaluate that and make a recommendation to the city manager for consideration. And the city manager under C would approve or deny monuments of less than citywide significance. And then it defines what a monument of citywide significance would be and in the application process.
And again, this is draft, so
This is a draft, that's correct.
so could we approve this draft with comment?
Yes, yeah.
Maybe that's what we ought to do.
Okay. Is our only comment that we want to add, designated areas? Or is there other?
How did you put that before? When you,
Yeah, I would like to just add designated areas in the different parks that would be appropriate, so that it narrows the scope of the areas. So if you wanted to designate along the sidewalk or along a boulevard or something like that, that it's there. So I think it's just to narrow the scope, to create areas that would be appropriate for monuments.
and let the specific organization, whether it be Parks and Rec or maybe Historic District, have more input on where those should be located. I agree
I
with
think
that.
also it would help anybody who wants to put in a monument, they'll at least know the areas that are available for them. And I think it'll take a lot of the discussion out of the equation, and maybe the emotion out of the equation.
So Carla, let me make a motion that we accept the draft with the comment that appropriate locations within each area, whether it be Parks and Rec or downtown or Historic District, be determined for monuments.
Okay. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I needed a second. Okay, so do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, and now all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, items pertaining to the Boulder City Municipal Golf Course and Boulder Creek Golf Course. Do I have a motion to accept, the approval of the operational reports?
I motion to accept.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is this item number 3 you're talking about?
Item number 3, yes. And with that, we move on to a verbal report from Roger regarding the municipal and the Boulder Creek Golf Course.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Golf course workers at both golf courses are very busy during the winter months, and here's what they're doing at both courses. There's a lot of winter mowing and trimming as needed. As you know, the grass kind of goes dormant, but there's mowing to be done. They have to keep the greens mowed every day or so. There's cleanup of pine cones and leaves. We have a lot of trees that have a lot of pine cones, and if you're not careful, you can trip and fall. So they have to pick up those pine cones, and there's a lot of leaves that those trees generate as well. They're applying a foliar fertilizer with pigments to all the short grasses to provide a growing season. And basically, it's an iron mixture, I would think, that would change the color of the grass to attract more sun, and therefore the grass grows a little longer into the winter season. The cleanup of the decomposed granite areas along the houses on the back 9, 12 to 15. A lot of weeds and stuff grow, and they have to get the weeds out and to prevent the seedlings from coming through in the springtime. They're weed eating all bunkers, trees, and perimeters, lake edges, and streams. Replacing a number of old lateral valves with new valves. Again, the irrigation system is really old on both the back 9 and the front 9. So a lot of valves are being replaced. They're cleaning around the clubhouse and the parking lot. They're fixing the cart path holes by entrances and exits. As you know, when the carts leave the cart path, a lot of times there's a divot or a hole, right by the entrance or where you leave the cart path, and they fill those in during the winter months to prevent damage to the new carts that we have. And they're setting up for large number of tournaments on both courses, Boulder Creek especially. That they have a lot of tournaments going on. Rounds and revenue at both golf courses continue to exceed the previous month's totals. The golf course revenue totals for the current year surpassed the 2021 calendar year totals, with November and December totals yet to be included in the 2022 count. So great news going on into the holiday season for golf, and it's very, very busy down there. That's the end of my report. Any questions?
Thank you.
I think it's a test to the playability on the revenue that's come in on those courses. I mean, it's pretty impressive this year after.
I think people were tired of COVID. They want to get back out into the environment. They love golf, and they're showing. Now, there's some downsides with that. With the increased number of participants playing golf, you have more damage to the golf course, which has to be taken as a maintenance issue for the maintenance workers. So, but the revenue is way up, and we're very excited with that.
The comments I've heard from players on the course, it's one of the better maintained courses in the valley, so I think you should be applauded on it.
Well, thank you. The Turf Tech is doing a great job on the maintenance of both the Boulder City Municipal Golf Course and Boulder Creek.
Very playable.
Yeah,
Very
thank you.
Any others? Thank you, Roger. Moving on for possible action, items pertaining to the rec division of the Park and Rec Department. Discuss approval of operational reports. Do I have a motion
I'll motion.
and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Verbal report from Jennifer.
Hello. Hello. Finally, SafeKey finally has staff. I finally feel like I can take a deep breath, which I probably shouldn't get too excited, something will change. But we have two 32-hour employees, plus 7 part-time employees, and we also have 4 of our summer staff returning for the holidays. And then winter break is coming up, and that's when we have all-day SafeKey, and we have 9 of those days during the holidays. So we have stuff planned at SafeKey, at ABC Park Gym. And Lexi has a lot of fun planned for the 2 weeks. I know one of the things they're planning on doing is a snowball fight, not with real snowballs, but with some snowballs that we bought. So they're looking forward to just having a lot of fun with the kids. Our Tiny Tots, we've really been struggling getting a second person in there with Bridget. We've had a lot of subs, and our staff has been in there, and we, beginning of November, hired Melissa Worthland, and she's doing a fabulous job and jumped right in. She's doing a great job. And then We've also just started our Letters to Santa campaign, where kids write letters to Santa and then Santa writes them a letter back. And we'll be taking those until December 19th. And the mailbox is out front currently. Don't really have any new classes. I am talking to somebody about a youth yoga class and also belly dancing. But that's about all I have unless you have questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger?
Yes, before we get into the sports report, I wanted to let you know that there have been a few changes in the sports division of the Parks and Rec Department. Kelly Lair has accepted a different position with the City of Boulder City, and during Kelly's tenure with the Parks and Rec Department, Kelly did a great job coordinating the sports program for youth and adults in our great community. We wish Kelly the very best in her new position with the city and thank her for her service to the Parks and Rec Department and the residents of Boulder City. So part-time assistant sports coordinator Jamie Gowdy has interviewed and has been promoted to full-time as the new sports coordinator for the City of Boulder City, and she'll oversee both youth and adult sports. Zach Murphy, who has also interviewed, has been promoted to part-time assistant sports coordinator to assist Jamie in with her duties. So on behalf of the Parks and Rec Department, I'd like to congratulate both of these individuals. I would now like to turn it over to Jamie and let you know what's going on with our sports program. So,
Thank you.
Alright, so we have just wrapped up our youth volleyball and our flag football leagues. This was the first year that we were able to do a league for youth volleyball, and we had 90 participants, so that was pretty cool. We had 130 flag football players. We also just wrapped up our women's volleyball league with 5 teams. Our adult softball league is wrapping up to our tournament starts this Sunday, so they'll be finishing up. Youth hockey and youth basketball are both starting. Hockey plays on Saturdays for kindergarten through 2nd graders, and our youth basketball is 3rd through 8th grade, and they play 4 nights a week. And then our men's basketball starts right after the first of the year. That's what we have going on.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you, congratulations. Finally, a verbal report from Recreation Manager Julie Callaway.
Good afternoon and thank you. In front of you, I have given you the special events master list for the next 12 months. As you know, we book out 12 months in advance, so you can see everything that we currently have on the calendar, special event-wise, for the next year. Quite a lot going on, especially just in the next week, actually. So keep those calendars full with special events and bring people into town. That's kind of our motto. We do have some staffing changes within our department. As Director Hall mentioned, in our sports department, we have 2 promotions, internal promotions, which is really nice. We've also recently promoted our part-time weekend custodian to a full-time position with the retirement of one of our other custodians. And then we were able to take a valued part-time Public Works employee and steal them over to the Parks and Recreation Department to be a 32-hour-a-week PERS position in a part-time custodian capacity, which was very nice. Just 2 weeks ago, we filled a vacancy that was Lexi Leos, who went to our Safe Key to be the Safe Key coordinator. That left a part-time office assistant position in our office, and we just filled that 2 weeks ago with a local resident. Her name is Brittany, and she is doing great, fitting right in, very fun. She works in the afternoons, and she's been able to do lots of deposits for us and started doing work orders, and in the future we'll be teaching her a little bit of everything. One thing we like to do in our department is really cross-train everyone to be able to do almost every job that's out there. We give more information, because you never know when somebody's going to ask you that one question, and you need to come up with the answer. So we do a lot of cross-training, and we're excited to have Brittany join us. So as you can see, we do a lot of promotion from within, If we have quality employees, we like to give them those opportunities and do recruitments internally just to keep the staff, the high-quality staff that our residents have come to appreciate. Some upcoming projects that we have: basketball court resurfacing both at ABC Park and at Hemingway Park. We have purchase orders that'll go out in the next couple of weeks for those two projects to begin at the beginning of the year. The ABC Park will be lined for pickleball and for basketball, and at Hemingway Park, it will be lined just for basketball. So that's on the horizon there. And we are on track for that new software registration system, online registration, to begin in January. Staff's been very diligent on building the new program and testing it and doing everything that we need to do to get it ready so that our residents will be able to start registration and get their households entered into the system and start registration in January. Lastly, our department will be hosting a citywide employee potluck for the holidays, and we have that in the second week of December, where we decorate the gymnasium and have everyone over for a potluck just to kind of celebrate the holiday season in December. Any questions?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Let's go on. All right, moving on. Items pertaining to the Aquatic Division of the Park and Rec Department. Approval of the operational reports.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
With that, verbal report from our aquatics coordinator, Sheree Brennan.
Hello, everyone. So today was backwashing day. I feel a little unkempt, but when we do that, not on a closed day, we'll close the pool early. So today, for example, we closed at 9 o'clock. It takes anywhere from 4 to 5 hours to complete that. So we were able to get reopened just in time for BCH to have their practice this afternoon. We had the Southern Nevada Health District came out for their annual inspection. Typically they come early in the summer to midsummer. This was just I've lost track of time with the holiday, 2 weeks ago, I believe. So they couldn't inspect the wading pool and the dive tank because they're not currently operating. Just a couple of things that they bring up every year. The cracks in the concrete around the deck. If you haven't been into the pool, it looks a little bit like a patchwork quilt in places because of all the repairs that have been done over the years. And the pitted plaster in the main pool. But it's not so bad that they've felt the need to shut us down. So let's see, some other maintenance things. Bubble Up went very well, and I'm always appreciative of the Public Works Department and the custodians, the Parks and Rec custodians, because due to our lifeguard shortage, I need other people to pitch in, and they make things go smoothly. It was part of the packet, I think page 40 of the packet. There's a picture of the new pump gauge board. The city plumber designed that and installed that, and it's great. Everything's nice and cleaned up compared to what we had before. And he even put it on hinges so that you can access the back of it without needing octopus arms to reach around.
I've seen it.
And we purchased a robotic vacuum in October. So also, due to staff shortage, I thought we've got to do something different. I don't have enough lifeguards with enough hours to manually vacuum it. It's been really good to be able to just put that vacuum in the pool. You have to babysit it a little bit, but not 100% of the time. So, and it's doing a good job. We should be able to vacuum that pool a whole lot more often than we were. The emergency exit lights were replaced recently by the electrical division of Public Works. Some of them were not working, and so I think Brandon actually replaced all of them so that they're all up to date and provide good signage. Personnel, as you've heard me say over and over and over and over, we need more lifeguards, we need swimming instructors. We recently hired 3 lifeguards, but availability is limited as usual with mostly high school students. One of them has started, the other 2 have not yet. We also hired a water aerobics instructor, and she will start soon. She's initially going to be taking, subbing for Terry through the month of December. Once she's on board, she's not quite hired yet, still in that initial process, or in the middle of that process, excuse me. Terry is taking some time off to help heal up an injury. So she'll be covering a lot of Terry's classes. And then I'm still in need of a pool maintenance person. So if you hear anything, let me know. Our water aerobics classes are always full and going well, and patrons ask for more and more. And hopefully with this additional instructor, we can figure out another time frame or days of the week and get her plugged in there. She has some really good ideas for that. And then our swimming lessons, as I've said a few times, minimal. Again, it's the staffing. And then I think the only other thing I wanted to mention, and there's also a picture for this, we had that Soggy Doggy in September, so there's a picture page for the Soggy Doggy event we had. We don't have any special events coming up until our Easter pool plunge. Do you have any questions for me?
Your lack of employees, personnel, do you think that that's a lack of just available bodies, or do you think that there are other factors in play there?
That's something that I think about a lot, and in talking to other people in the valley, it seems like everybody is struggling with that, and I know it's not just in the aquatics field. If you look at the bigger picture, truckers, so many places in town have help wanted signs up. So I don't have a specific answer, but it's people don't need to work, or don't want to work, or don't want to be lifeguards. I don't have a good answer, and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If I had an answer, I'd probably solve it.
Right.
Yeah.
You might have to get Julie to add that to cross-training, lifeguard.
When I worked for the Air Force, we did do that.
Should read in your report, you talk about an administration about that HM safety certification thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We had a gentleman come out and run our staff through some skills to see if we could meet the requirement to reduce the number of lifeguards on our main pool. And we did not meet that requirement. We have been working a little bit on trying to improve our staff's abilities, which is tricky because of everybody's schedules and trying to get everybody there at the same time to run through those drills, basically. And part of that is recognition, part of that is response. So recognizing a situation and responding to it within, the goal is to be able to get from your stand, recognize, and to the victim within 20 seconds. So, and Val, you know the size of our pool. So if you think of a guard over here and the victim's over there, it's, it can be a stretch to get there within 20 seconds. We were close. So it's just a matter of working on that. But we need everybody to be at that level. We can't have some who are and some who aren't, because we don't have the same people on staff. You know, our schedule is, it's not really rotating, but it's who's available at what time is how I build the schedule.
Well, I know you're working on that to maybe reduce the number of lifeguards you needed at the time, and so.
Right, yeah, and he will be back unannounced a couple more times before summer. So hopefully we'll get better and better.
Tell them to bring some lifeguards with them. We can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a verbal report from Roger Hall on mountain biking and the aerial trails at Bootleg Canyon.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. With the great weather continuing to happen at Bootleg Canyon, we recently had quite a few people there for special events. We had a mud run in the detention basin, I think 3 weeks ago, with over 8,000 participants in attendance. They park there, they bus in, and hopefully they come into Boulder City to enjoy the great life in Boulder City at Milo's and some of the other great establishments. But 8,000 people coming into Boulder City, enjoying, you know, our Bootleg Canyon mountain bike facility is a great thing. Now, with the cold wind coming, obviously, you know, special events go downhill until the spring comes, but we still have some races scheduled during the wintertime, and people are still coming out to Boulder and riding Boulder, the great trails in Boulder City, so we're happy about that. Regarding the aerial trail system, I have nothing to report on that. I'll keep you posted for future developments on that. I think the city's still deciding what we want to do with that property now that we own it and all the equipment and everything. So that'll be coming down the pike here probably after the first of the new year. So that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Finally, for Park and Recreation Commission reports concerning facilities, maintenance issues, various operations, and community events. Go ahead.
And this is just from residents coming to me, and with that, everyone was excited about the new fitness center and all the new equipment and all, but then the other equipment's been moved into a neighboring building, and some of the residents are frightened because there's no one in there if they have a fall or an accident, and they're kind of requesting that maybe look into having a camera in there, an inexpensive camera that could be monitored when there are people in there, because you can get the key from the office. There's always somebody in the fitness center, right? And so there was some fears about that, and they wanted to ask me to come and mention that to the. And then.
Really good idea.
I have another one too. Then, of course, I'm a big pool person too. So everyone, you know, and I was on the ad hoc pool committee, and now with, you know, people have been saying, can we get the new city council and the city manager, get someone getting going so that we can get going on the citizens funded the ballots things to get a new pool, and nothing has been happening, and like how much time now has elapsed. And so at least the pool had passed the latest inspection, but it's not going to forever. So I don't know what we can do to try to move it along, but everyone asks me constantly, and I don't have anything to tell them because I haven't heard anything.
Well, right now, you know, part of the packet for paying for the pool was 90% of the money for the new homes going around the golf course would have been allocated to that project. Currently, with the high interest rates and everything like that, they've kind of stepped back and took a pause in their consideration of coming to Boulder City to build the homes. And so therefore, we don't have a proposal from that company with the required setbacks and required, facility home sizes that were requested. So as of right now, you know, we don't have 90% of that money because we don't have any money from that the building of those homes. Track 350, I believe it's called. And so we're kind of waiting for them to come back to us, to come back with a new proposal, and for the city council to approve the new proposal and receive the money. And then at that point, we'll have 90% of that goes into that fund, you know, for a new pool. So that's what we're waiting on right now.
But that was one ballot issue. The other one was money from the solar leases. I mean, Steve knows more about that. I mean, just doing the planning, getting an architect, doing something to start moving ahead, even though we don't might have all the money right now. And that's being held up, as I understand it. We did get proposals from Toll Brothers and some other ones, but they're fighting about the size of the lots and all this kind of thing. That's all internal and on the city council. So,
That's correct. They brought a proposal to a group of people that the neighbors that live in that area. The neighbors didn't like what they proposed, and they decided to pull that out of consideration and come back with the new proposals, addressing some of the concerns of the neighbors that live around that area. At that point, we haven't heard back from Toll Brothers. So, and then I heard yesterday, I believe, that they're kind of stepping back for 6 months, because during that time, you know, inflation went way, way up. So the price of commodities and everything went up. And so they're kind of looking at their model for building homes and for making a profit. Obviously, you know, they don't build homes for free. And they're kind of stepping back right now and letting that settle out a little bit before they go on. So the city is kind of waiting for their proposal before we can do anything. We could get the pool designed, but we don't know, you know, we don't have the money to build it right now. And if that project falls through, 90% of that money, which is a great deal of money, it won't be available to build a pool. So we're kind of stuck. So unfortunately, we're just kind of waiting for them to come back to us.
well, is there a way we can get it on the agenda for the city council, talk to the city manager and get something going on? Because what my understanding is that they want 10,000 square feet, that Toll Brothers has beautiful homes on golf courses, if you've seen them, very beautiful, and they're not 10,000 square feet. So if the neighborhood afraid that their property values are gonna go down, I mean, it needs to be, you can't just be letting it ride. The pool isn't gonna last.
Right. Well, that's about,
40
you
plus
know,
years.
yeah, it's going, you know, she's an old gal. We're trying to keep her going, you know.
Well, I guess as a citizen, I can go ahead and tell them, you know, complain and say, you need to get this on the agenda and have another meeting and get this worked out with
Yeah.
Toll Brothers or something.
But if we don't have anybody bidding on the project, then we're kind of at a standstill, so, you know,
Then they need to pursue it again.
right.
They're doing nothing now.
Uh,
It's not satisfying.
Is it a possibility of looking at individual people buying the lots?
Well, you know, right now, we really can't, you know, we can't be talking about this because it wasn't agendized as a, you know, but, you know, as a suggestion to possibly look into, we can bring it forth, you know, in the minutes will be your comments regarding the pool, and that'll be given to every city councilman, so, and I'll make sure the city manager gets a copy of that as well, okay, of your concern on that. I can tell you on the pool, we were having issues with the new pool, well, not new, but it's a pool heater in the mechanical room, and we're getting quotes on getting a new pool heater, and also for replastering the pools. Right now, we're getting written up by the health department because the plaster is chipping on the bottom of the pools. So we're gonna have to put some money into the pools, and I'll keep you posted on that, but hopefully the heater will last a little longer, and we will get these quotes that we can, you know, do something with the mechanics of the pool. But as you mentioned, you know, it was built in 1980, I think, yeah. So she's getting old, so,
We all are.
yeah.
Well, didn't even the showers go out? The heater in the showers in the locker rooms went out too? That's a different heating system, right, than from the pool? But that got fixed.
Yes, there was some corrosion that occurred on the hot water tank that services the showers, well, the rest of the building, and the whole thing had to be replaced. So it was quick. Andy was able to order that and get it in, take the old one out, get the new one in just a few days. But yeah, it is a bummer when there's no hot water in the showers.
And, you know, that's just not a typical hot water heater. It costs what, about $8,000 to replace
Yes.
that, so.
I have one more update to let the members know about, and that is the Hemingway Park expansion trail. There's one more project that is in the works. We are partnering with Endow on that project, as you know. We still have some interpretive signs that we'll be adding to the trail itself that'll show off some of the animals and plants that people can see while they're walking on the trail. And then the signs that have been there for a while are being replaced, still with the same general information regarding the bighorn sheep, but they've aged with the sun exposure, et cetera. So Endow is working on replacing those. We've purchased the trail signs, and we're working together to have everything installed. And then we'll be doing a ribbon cutting for that, just to kind of memorialize the improvements and the expansion of that trail, and working with Commissioner Gibson on that project. So we'll let you know when that happens. We're hoping it happens at the beginning of the new year.
That Lakeview Trail is really nice. Is that part of that project, at Hemingway Park, Lakeview Trail? That's really nice.
It's the trail that just goes behind Hemingway Park?
Yeah,
Is
it
that what
goes
you're?
around it, but it's the Lakeviews. You go down and there's a loop, and it's like, it's quite nice. Is that, who's the cooperating?
It was Commissioner Gibson who actually funded the majority of the project.
Mhm.
And then we worked with the Department of Wildlife.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? With that, we open up public comment again. The phone lines are open, 702-589-9629. Yes?
So I just wanted to discuss that we do have a daily morning announcements at Boulder City High School, and I can actually talk to the teacher of that class, and for the employment opportunities of the pool, we can, at least for the lifeguarding, we can put it in the announcement, so maybe students can be attracted to that, so we can get more employment at the pool. That is my only comment, if you guys would like me to do so.
Yay.
Good job.
Excellent.
Do you want to be a lifeguard?
I already have a job.
Second job.
All right.
All right, seeing as there's no other public comment, I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.